Hello, my name is Tanya Patterson. This is a recording of a presentation I recently did for Altogether Autism and Parent to Parent, and I'm going to be doing it in 4 short parts. In this short series, I'll speak about autistic identity, growing up autistic, sensory differences, meltdowns, shutdowns, and a little bit about why it's important to diagnose. I'll be reading it off notes, otherwise I'll get completely lost. So, kia ora. I want to begin with a bit of a description about the language that I'll use and a disclaimer. So I use the term neurodivergent to describe variants of the typical neurology, such as autistics, bipolar, ADHD, people with brain illnesses or injuries, and more. I use neurotypical, or NT, as the term used for what is currently understood as the majority. So neurodiversity is a way of acknowledging the diverse range of neurotypes in the human race. Also, I do not claim to speak for all autistic people. There is just as much individuality in the autistic culture as there is in any culture. Today I will share with you some of my thoughts and experiences with the hope to give you my perspective of autism. For the record, I'm not all that comfortable with autism being called a disorder, and here is why. In medicine, disorder is defined as a disruption of the normal functioning. And what really defines this normal functioning? And I think this description has created unnecessary and damaging stigma for autistic people. So when people focus on the mainstream profile of autism, you lose the uniqueness of the individual and often focus on what the deficits are. With this brings a level of angst on how to fix them. I acknowledge that there are challenges that can come with autism that are destructive and unsafe, and for those physical and psychological risks, there's much needed work to be done to minimise the harm that they cause. For others, whose challenges are more subtle looking, I see the disability of autism comes primarily due to the social constructs and lack of acceptance, as opposed to personal deficits. Being neurodivergent is to have a brain that works in a unique way. This divergence may never be understood by science in the way that they attempt to understand it now. Why did this happen, and how do we fix it or cure it? So trying to cure people like me further stigmatizes us as a culture. Yes, there are certain parts that deserve research and development for interventions. However, for the most part, it is lack of empathy and understanding from our communities that alienates and isolates. People like us have always been in society, often the inventors, artists, creators, and carers and problem solvers. So here we are, the autistic culture, as we have always been, not an epidemic of anything other than knowledge and awareness. This modern society is hypersensory, fast-paced, and with convoluted social structures that is just not built with us in mind. So, thank you for listening, and I hope you all can take a wee bit of something away that may give you a different perspective of my world. Kia ora. So, my name is Tanya Patterson. I was formally identified in 2015 at age 39 as an autistic woman. My formal diagnosis from the DSM-5 is Autistic Spectrum Disorder Level 1. Over many years I've had so many labels that never felt okay. I wear this label as a badge of honour and a recognition of my difference. To borrow from a friend, this is the kindest label I have been given. My 16-year-old recently commented that I'm having what he refers to as a reverse midlife crisis. Some people get to 40 and think, who the hell am I? Whereas I got to 40 and I'm like, oh, alright, this is who I am. So here I am having my reverse midlife crisis. In the middle of 2015, after a long, slow process driven by my need for answers, I received the kindest label I have been given. This identification was such a relief for me that I literally felt tension and pain lift from my body. I'd spent a lifetime being so confused at why I messed up so many things, even though I'm fairly smart. It helped me see why so many people had treated me in ways that I felt I never deserved, and why I caused people harm without intention. I'd been misunderstood because I didn't look different, confused from my attempts at social interaction that many times failed. I didn't understand why people would laugh at me and bully me when I was only doing what I thought was expected of me. I didn't have the theory of mind and social software to even know what that was. I was frustrated with myself for not doing better and not being like other people. I had been scared for so long. It was starting to make sense in the weirdest way. However, even once I was armed with my certificate, society and the healthcare system didn't suddenly wrap around me with support and understanding. Our society has very little understanding of autism, especially in adults, especially in females, and especially when they can't see any difference between you and them. However, the self-understanding and introspection has brought me a great number of benefits. I've made connections with other autistic people in person, but more often online. I've had contact with good people at places like Parent to Parent and Altogether Autism who are open and kind. This has been really helpful. So I'm building knowledge about my culture, a community of people who have shared experiences and who are choosing to celebrate who they are and share their lives with each other in an empathic, kind and welcoming way. So, but a piece of advice to other autistic people: stop focusing on what is supposedly wrong with you and start learning about what is unique and different about everyone else. Everyone is weird and quirky, you'll see. Some of the best therapy I've had in my life has been learning about other people. Hairdressing forced me into a place where I was not only exposed to many people, I also had instruction on how to have conversations. Nice, time-limited, one-on-one conversations. Then, with my most recent training in counselling, I was able to learn even more about the complexities of the human race. Learning about the broad diversities of people, their lives, loves, hardships, can be really useful to someone who is feeling less than, wrong, or just plain not good enough. Society has this unattainable strive for perfection, which is everywhere in social media, television, and the community in general. What we as autistics don't often realise is that neurotypicals also struggle to fit in. Something I have found helpful is to understand that there is imperfection everywhere. There is anxiety about not having this and not being that in all aspects of our society. There are pressures that are mostly unrealistic, unattainable, or simply untrue. What is extra compounding for us is the pressures put on us by the way people speak of autism and autistic people. There is this constant pressure for us to fit into schools, workplaces, and communities that weren't built with our needs and our strengths in mind. Once we as autistics and the people who care for us see each other as equals, many neurodiversities all struggling to achieve acceptance, then maybe, just maybe, we will all walk together as equals. We're all people, we're all human. No one is better or worse, no one needs fixing or changing. We simply all need each other's understanding, acceptance and support. Kia ora.